Netflix is dead. And I don't mean dead like, oh no, their stock dropped. It's dead because it succeeded too well at the wrong things. By every metric that Wall Street worships, Netflix has never been more alive. Hundreds of millions of subscribers, tens of billions in revenue, a global platform so embedded in everyday life that Netflix and chill became a whole cultural phenomenon. And yet, something essential is gone. Don't look at their quarterly earnings report. Talk to actual Netflix users and you'll hear it immediately. The excitement has faded. Nobody's anticipating anything anymore. What once felt like appointment viewing has become background noise, something that runs while people scroll TikTok on their phones. They pulled off the most hollow victory in business history, becoming omnipresent while ceasing to matter emotionally. They're everywhere and nowhere at the same time. This is the story of how a company can win everything that can be measured and still lose the one thing that made any of it worth winning in the first place. To understand how Netflix achieved this paradox, we need to go back to when it all felt different. February 2013. House of Cards drops. A few months later, Orange is the New Black. This was the moment Netflix stopped being just a streaming service and became something else entirely. A revolution. For you as a viewer, this was pure liberation. No commercials cutting into the story. No waiting a week between episodes like some peasant watching network TV. No executives demanding safe, predictable garbage. You could binge an entire season in a weekend and experience it as one cohesive story. It felt like a gift. The promise was simple. Give us $8 a month and we'll give you premium content that respects your intelligence and your time. And for several years, they actually delivered on that promise. Stranger Things, The Crown, Ozark, Mindhunter. These weren't just shows, these were cultural moments people actually cared about. For Netflix internally, this was the mission paying off. They'd made an absolutely insane bet, $100 million on House of Cards with zero track record in original programming. If it flopped, the company was done, but it didn't flop. It proved streaming could create prestige content that rivaled anything on HBO or Showtime. More importantly, it created what business people call a virtuous cycle, but what normal humans would call everyone winning together. For creators, Netflix became paradise. They offered what Hollywood wouldn't: creative freedom, real money, and commitments to complete stories. Showrunners could pitch ambitious ideas and Netflix would say, yes, here's the budget, go make something great. So naturally, the best writers and directors in the industry started bringing their best ideas to Netflix. Great creators made great content attracted subscribers. Subscriber money funded more great content. Everyone's incentives aligned perfectly. It was beautiful. A rare moment where capitalism actually worked for you guys. You felt it as a viewer. Netflix meant quality. When you saw that red logo before a show, you trusted it would be worth your time. That logo was a seal of approval, and streaming cost $8 a month. $8 for unlimited access to premium content with no ads. The deal felt honest. Like, they actually gave a shit about making good television. Then November 2019 happened. Disney Plus launched. 10 million subscribers on day one, 95 million within a year, hitting in 12 months what Disney expected to take until 2024. Then came the flood. HBO Max, Peacock, Paramount Plus, Apple TV Plus. Every media company suddenly decided they needed a streaming service. Suddenly, Netflix wasn't alone anymore. And the threat wasn't just about subscriber growth. Disney pulled Marvel, Star Wars, and Pixar from Netflix. The Office, Netflix's most watched show, went to Peacock. Friends moved to HBO Max. The library people actually relied on started vanishing. Wall Street noticed immediately. Earnings calls turned hostile. They started asking questions. How do you compete with Disney? What's your moat? Why wouldn't subscribers switch to Disney Plus for half the price? Netflix panicked, and that panic is when everything started to die. Their solution? Flood the market. Drown the competition in content. In 2021 alone, Netflix released 493 original shows and movies, more than one per day. Not because they suddenly had 493 brilliant ideas lying around, but because they needed to create a perception of endless content so you wouldn't cancel your subscription and jump to Disney. For you, this was the turning point. Early Netflix felt curated, like someone with good taste was guiding you. By the early 2020s, it became a content fire hose blasting garbage at your face. The platform was releasing so many originals that keeping track became literally impossible. You'd spend 30 minutes scrolling through thumbnails, nothing quite clicks, and eventually you give up. What once felt like freedom now feels exhausting. People even gave it a name. It's called Netflix syndrome. The quality dropped with quantity. When you're releasing that much content, you can't maintain standards. It's literally impossible. But the deeper shift was internal and way more sinister. Decision-making moved from humans to the algorithm. Shows were no longer judged on potential or creative merit. They were judged on short-term engagement metrics. If the numbers didn't hit in the first few weeks, the show was canceled. Didn't matter what critics said. Didn't matter if fans were passionate. If the algorithm says no, show dies. Simple as that. Here's the problem with that. Great art often succeeds by defying early data. Breaking Bad tested poorly at first. The Sopranos was considered too dark and slow for mainstream audiences. Those shows needed someone with vision to fight for them, to say, trust me, this is worth it. Netflix stopped doing that. The algorithm became gospel. And you felt this shift directly through the relentless cancellations. Dead Boy Detectives, canceled after one season. Chaos with Jeff Goldblum, gone. The Brother's Son, killed mid-story. Between 2022 and 2023 alone, Netflix canceled over 40 original series, many with strong reviews and devoted fan bases. You know what that teaches you as a viewer? Don't get invested, don't care too much, don't fall in love with characters or storylines, because Netflix will cancel it anyway. Why would you emotionally invest in a story that probably won't get an ending? That's basically setting yourself up for disappointment. For creators, the deal changed just as dramatically. Netflix went from, bring us your best vision and we'll protect it, to optimize for engagement metrics or die. So guess what happened? The best showrunners stopped bringing their ambitious ideas to Netflix. Why pour your heart into a complex story when it could be killed after one season by a dashboard nobody even understands? The ecosystem that powered the golden age, creative freedom, human judgment, long-term bets was systematically destroyed, replaced by algo-driven decision-making and quarterly panic. Now let's talk about money, because this is where the betrayal became concrete, where you could feel it in your bank account every month. From the start, Netflix sold itself as exceptional value. In 2010, streaming cost $8 a month. For less than 2 movie tickets, you got a growing library you could watch anytime, anywhere, with 0 ads. It felt like you were getting away with something. Fast forward to today, the standard plan costs $18. Premium is $25, more than triple the original price. Now, some corporate defender will say, but inflation. Cool, let's do the math. $7.99 in 2010 adjusted for inflation would be about $11.50 today. Instead, Netflix charges 56% more than inflation for standard and 117% more for premium. But even those raw numbers don't capture how this actually felt for normal people trying to budget their entertainment. The key issue isn't how much prices went up, it's when they went up, why they went up, and what you got in return for paying more. Early increases came with visible value. HD streaming in 2014, massive investment in originals in 2017. You could see where your money was going. The content library was growing. The deal still felt fair, like both sides were winning. April 2022 was the breaking point. The moment everything changed forever. Netflix lost 200,000 subscribers in one quarter. For the first time in over a decade, growth went negative. The number went down instead of up. The stock collapsed, down 51% in one day. $50 billion in market value disappeared overnight, vanished like it never existed. Wall Street lost its mind. See, Netflix's entire pitch to investors had always been dead simple. We're a growth company. Give us cheap capital and we'll turn it into endless subscriber growth. That story, that promise of infinite expansion, had powered everything. The valuation, executive compensation, the whole business model. Now, growth had stopped. And how Netflix responded in that moment of crisis told you everything about how far the company had drifted from its original mission. They didn't double down on quality. They didn't recommit to honoring audience investment in their shows. They didn't protect creative vision or fight for the storytelling that made them special in the first place. They reached for the financial levers, the Wall Street playbook. And you felt this panic translated directly into 3 massive betrayals. First, the ad-supported tier launched, directly contradicting years of "we'll never have ads" positioning. Second, faster and more aggressive cancellations, prioritizing short-term cost control over long-term trust. But the password sharing reversal? That was the moment the mask fully came off. For years, Netflix executives publicly said they loved sharing. In 2016, the CEO literally said Netflix loved people sharing accounts, whether it was 2 people on a couch or 10. Then 2023 hits. Growth numbers are still shaky. Wall Street is still freaking out and applying pressure. And suddenly, Netflix completely flipped the rules. Now you are verifying your household location monthly or paying extra fees. College kids get kicked off their family plans. People traveling for work have to jump through verification hoops just to watch a show. The crackdown worked financially. Millions of users converted to paying subscribers. The stock went up, but it fundamentally changed how you felt about Netflix. It stopped being us, this cool company that understood modern life, and became them. Just another corporation squeezing every dollar out of you while pretending it's for your own good. And all of this happened while Netflix raised prices 3 times in 3 years. January 2022, October 2023, and January 2025. During the exact same period when the experience got objectively worse. Shows you loved were canceled mid-story. Seasons were split in half to slow down churn. Put yourself in the customer's position for a second. You're paying more than ever. The service is more irritating to use. Password sharing is suddenly enforced. Shows you care about get canceled. At the same time, Netflix reports record profits, pays executives lavishly, and announces massive deals you didn't ask for. This creates what psychologists call a double bind, a situation where all your options feel bad. Pay more for worse service or cancel and lose access to the few shows you still care about. Either way, you feel exploited. What once felt collaborative now feels extractive. That's why millions of people are still subscribed even though they're genuinely unhappy. Pricing satisfaction is down. Perceived value has fallen off a cliff. Users say they'd seriously reconsider if prices rose again. And yet, they stay. Not because people love Netflix, not because the service is great, but because switching feels pointless. Every alternative just trades one set of frustrations for another. Netflix didn't earn loyalty, it engineered dependence. They built a trap. The strategy worked financially. The stock recovered. Millions converted to paying subscribers. But it broke the psychological contract. That unspoken agreement between company and customer that made people actually want to give Netflix their money. This was the moment the company transformed. The platform that once thought in years started thinking in quarters. The company that built loyalty through trust began extracting value through enforcement. Fear replaced confidence. Survival replaced vision. And here's the thing about breaking trust. You only get to make that trade once. Which brings us to December 2025. Netflix announces they're acquiring Warner Bros. Discovery for $83 billion. HBO, Warner Bros. Studios, DC Comics, CNN. Decades of cultural capital and one of the deepest libraries in Hollywood history. All of it folded into Netflix overnight. At first glance, it sounds like a victory, right? Everything in one place again. Content consolidation, scale, market dominance, the kind of deal that makes shareholders cream their pants. But this isn't strength. This is surrender. This is Netflix openly admitting it can't win by being better. So it's going to win by being bigger, by controlling enough of the market that customers have nowhere else to go. The irony is absolutely brutal when you think about it. Netflix built its identity on disrupting media monopolies, on breaking the power of consolidated gatekeepers who controlled what you could watch. Now, it's becoming exactly the kind of monolith it once positioned itself against. The villain from its own origin story. And you know what's most revealing? The reaction of people. This isn't excitement. This isn't celebration either. It's dread. Genuine anxiety. Viewers aren't thinking, great, more content. They're thinking, oh no, Netflix is going to ruin HBO the same way it ruined its own creative culture. That's the most damning signal of all. A decade ago, Netflix was the place people trusted to elevate content, to make things better. In 2025, its brand has degraded so thoroughly that its biggest acquisition announcement is met with genuine fear, not optimism. Fear that the algorithm will swallow another studio, fear that everything distinctive will be flattened into the same algorithm-optimized slop. Consolidation isn't a solution to Netflix's problems. It's an admission that the original magic is gone. You can buy IP, you can buy studios, you can also buy global scale, but you can't buy trust back once you've burned it. And Netflix burned all that trying to survive. Here's the uncomfortable question nobody wants to ask. Was this actually about greed, or was Netflix trapped? Because the streaming wars created an impossible equation. Netflix had to do 3 things at once: spend billions to compete with Disney, keep prices low enough that millions of people wouldn't cancel, and deliver consistent quarterly growth to Wall Street. Do all 3 at the same time. You can't. Every major streaming platform has run into the same wall. Disney Plus lost billions yearly despite massive growth. HBO Max restructured repeatedly, slashing content and canceling shows. Paramount Plus and Peacock can't reach profitability no matter what they try. Apple TV Plus survives only because it's subsidized by iPhones. The economics fundamentally don't work. Cable television was profitable because it bundled content and charged accordingly. 60, 70, even $80 a month for hundreds of channels you never watched. Streaming fragmented that model across a dozen platforms, each charging $7 to $15 a month, each trying to fund prestige content at scale. There simply isn't enough revenue in the system to support what audiences have been conditioned to expect. Netflix couldn't win on library anymore. Everyone reclaimed their content and took it home. They couldn't win on price, they were already expensive. They couldn't win on experience either. Algorithm-driven interfaces became industry standard. Everyone's app became equally terrible, so they chose consolidation, the only move left on the board. Not to make better content, but to gain leverage, control the platform, control the studios, control distribution. When you're big enough, you don't need loyalty anymore, you just need inevitability. You become the default option because there is no real alternative. That's what the Warner Bros. Acquisition actually represents. The company that once disrupted media monopolies is now becoming one. So Netflix is still financially successful, hundreds of millions of subscribers, billions in revenue, and yet something is clearly, undeniably dead. Be honest with yourself for a second. Think about your actual relationship with Netflix. Do you love it? Or do you just have it? Like electricity. Like your internet provider, infrastructure you'd be annoyed to cancel because it's a hassle, not something you're genuinely excited about having in your life. That shift from emotional attachment to pure utility is completely invisible in subscriber numbers, but it's everything. People who love a brand defend it, recommend it to friends unprompted, stick with it through problems and price increases. People who merely tolerate a brand, they leave the exact moment something meaningfully better appears. No any hesitation. And here's the thing about those subscription numbers Netflix loves to brag about. Subscriptions have friction. You're halfway through a season. You don't want to lose access to your watch list or miss that one show dropping in a few days. The numbers reflect past decisions and inertia, not how people actually feel right now. Here's another metric Netflix doesn't want to talk about: cultural temperature. In the golden age, Netflix created cultural heat. Shows didn't just release, they landed. Like Messi bending a free kick into the net. People talked about them at work, dressed up as characters for Halloween, argued about endings in group chats, built entire online communities around them. By 2025, shows trend for a weekend and then completely disappear. Compare that to how Breaking Bad or The Sopranos maintained cultural presence for years, even decades after their finales. Most of what Netflix produces today is basically trash. Content arrives, fills time on screens while you scroll your phone, and evaporates from collective memory by next week. And this matters. It matters a lot because cultural relevance drives the most valuable growth there is: organic word of mouth. When people are genuinely excited about something, they recruit subscribers for free. When they're not, you pay millions in advertising for every single new one. What actually died wasn't the business. The company's still making money. What died was a relationship, the reason people cared in the first place. Netflix once stood for something real. Now it stands for nothing in particular, just another corporation optimizing extraction while doing the minimum required to keep you subscribed. You're no longer a customer to delight, to build a relationship with. You're a resource to extract from. What remains is efficient content delivery, algorithms optimizing engagement, retention through friction habit, and market dominance. By Wall Street standards, it's a massive success, but it's no longer a vision or a revolution. And that's the most insidious kind of corporate death, the kind nobody notices until it's way too late. The company doesn't collapse, it doesn't go bankrupt or shut down, it just stops meaning anything. Netflix is still here, the platform exists, but the Netflix that actually mattered, that Netflix is dead, gone. Long live Netflix, whatever the hell that means now. If you like this video, you need to watch the one popping up on your screen right now. Because just like Netflix, Hollywood itself is dying for the exact same reasons. And it's even worse than you think. Click that video to see the full breakdown. And if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel.